Good evening, this is Sal Pierre with Sal's US and World News, and we begin tonight's broadcast with breaking news from the White House. On January 20, 2025, President Donald J. Trump declared a national emergency at the US-Mexico border, calling it an invasion and an immediate threat to national security. In a formal proclamation, the president stated that America's sovereignty is under siege by criminal organizations, including cartels, human traffickers, terrorists, and smugglers, all exploiting the southern border. The president's declaration comes after years what he described as chaos and suffering caused by the flow of illicit narcotics, violence, and unchecked illegal immigration. Trump pointed to the tragic loss of American lives due to drug overdoses and violent crimes perpetrated by illegal aliens. He emphasized that criminal gangs have gained significant control of territories just south of the U.S. border, making it increasingly difficult for law enforcement to respond effectively. In response to what he called a grave threat, President Trump invoked the National Emergencies Act, allowing for the deployment of military resources to support the Department of Homeland Security in securing the southern border. The proclamation also includes provisions for constructing additional physical barriers and enhancing surveillance capabilities, including the use of unmanned aerial systems. The president has ordered the Secretary of Defense to mobilize military personnel, including the National Guard, to assist in border security operations. Additionally, the construction of more barriers along the border is set to begin, with coordination between federal agencies and state governments. In terms of policy changes, Trump also revoked a previous proclamation from January 2021, which had called for a halt to the emergency status and the diversion of funds for border wall construction. The new emergency measures aim to prioritize the denial of unauthorized entries and strengthen the security of U.S. borders. The Secretary of Defense is required to submit regular reports on the progress of these efforts, and a joint report from the Department of Defense and Homeland Security will follow in the coming months, potentially outlining further actions needed to secure the border. This could even include invoking the Insurrection Act should the situation worsen. This emergency declaration marks a significant escalation in the ongoing border security debate and raises questions about future policies regarding military involvement in domestic security. As always, we will continue to monitor developments and bring you the latest updates. Stay with us for more news coming up next.
Good evening. I'm Victoria Smith. We begin this report with a significant shift in U.S. foreign policy as the Trump administration has frozen nearly all foreign aid, effective immediately. The move follows an executive order signed by President Donald Trump earlier this week, which halts foreign assistance for 90 days. Secretary of State Marco Rubio sent a cable to U.S. diplomatic posts around the world detailing the freeze and its far-reaching consequences. The freeze covers nearly every area of foreign assistance, including humanitarian aid, global health programs, development efforts, and military aid, all except emergency food assistance and aid to Israel and Egypt. This sweeping decision is the result of growing criticism of U.S. foreign aid spending, particularly from Republicans in Congress and the Trump administration, who argue that the U.S. must ensure its foreign policy investments align with its national interests. Rubio echoed this sentiment, stressing that every dollar spent must be justified by whether it enhances America's security, strength, and prosperity. However, the impact of this freeze is already being felt worldwide. U.S. foreign assistance has been a critical lifeline for millions, and now programs like the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief PEPFAR and the President's Malaria Initiative PMI, which have enjoyed bipartisan support, face disruption. Humanitarian organizations have expressed alarm, calling the move a global freakout. These programs are essential in conflict zones and developing nations, offering life-saving services like clean water, education, and critical medical treatment. Humanitarian groups such as Interaction, which represents international NGOs, warned that halting these programs could create dangerous voids that adversaries like China will quickly fill. They highlighted the devastating consequences in countries like Syria, Pakistan, and Ukraine, where U.S. assistance plays a central role in maintaining stability and promoting American values abroad. The freeze has also led to outcry from Democrats. Representatives Gregory Meeks and Lois Frankel penned a letter to Secretary Rubio urging that U.S. foreign aid programs must continue to serve both global and American interests. They warned that cutting off aid to programs like PEPFAR could result in catastrophic consequences, particularly for those reliant on life-saving treatments. The administration has said that the freeze will give them time to review whether existing programs align with the president's broader foreign policy goals. In the coming weeks, the State Department will establish new standards for evaluating aid programs. This decision is stirring debate on the effectiveness of U.S. foreign aid, with opponents arguing that it risks undermining the country's global leadership and humanitarian commitments. Proponents of the freeze, however, insist that it is a necessary step to ensure that U.S. taxpayer dollars are spent in ways that directly benefit American interests. The situation remains fluid, and we will continue to monitor any developments. Stay with us for more updates.
Good evening, I'm Dan Sullivan, and this is Sal's U.S. and World News. Today, we bring you a significant moment of remembrance as the world marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, one of the most notorious Nazi death camps during World War II. On January 27, 1945, Soviet forces liberated the camp, discovering around 7,000 emaciated prisoners. Auschwitz, located in southern Poland, stands as a grim symbol of the atrocities carried out by Nazi Germany, where over 1 million people, most of them Jews, were systematically murdered, along with Poles, Roma, Soviet POWs, and others targeted under Adolf Hitler's genocidal regime. This year's anniversary is particularly poignant, as the survivors who lived through these horrors are now of advanced age, and their numbers continue to dwindle. In light of this, a gathering will take place at Auschwitz on. The event will serve as both a memorial to the victims and a reminder of the enduring relevance of their testimonies as warnings against hate and intolerance. Auschwitz itself, which is now a state-run museum, continues to draw millions of visitors each year. The museum's mission is to preserve the memory of what occurred there, despite ongoing challenges to conserve artifacts and structures that were never meant to endure for decades. Among the poignant conservation efforts are the preservation of the shoes of murdered children, a stark reminder of the brutalities committed at the site. This year's ceremonies will include figures from across the globe, including German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, and British royalty, with King Charles III attending to honor Holocaust remembrance. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin will be notably absent due to the ongoing war in Ukraine and Russia's controversial actions in the region. As we remember the lives lost at Auschwitz, we also recognize the critical importance of ensuring that future generations never forget the lessons of history. The survivors who are still with us have been unwavering in their commitment to sharing their stories, and their voices remain vital as a reminder of the horrors of the past and the need to prevent such atrocities in the future. We'll continue to follow the events of this powerful anniversary and bring you more updates as the day unfolds. Stay with us.
This is Sal Pierre. Thank you for watching. We promise to bring you headlines and the detailed reports mostly as the events are happening. Please subscribe to the channel. Like and share our videos, you'll be glad you did. See you at the next video.